Ukrainian drones are increasingly becoming symbols of modern warfare and technological superiority. Precision strikes, unexpected appearances, and footage that reshapes our understanding of combat show just how dramatically battlefield tactics have evolved. These attacks are the result of engineering ingenuity, the courage of operators, and an entirely new approach to waging war. Onboard cameras capture moments that not long ago seemed impossible. Let's take a look at how drones are changing the course of history right before our eyes. Battlefield tactics have changed dramatically. Ukrainian fighters no longer need to risk their lives by leaving their positions to search for enemy equipment. The hunt is now conducted remotely. Launching an FPV drone packed with explosives is enough. A clear example of the effectiveness of this weapon is right on your screens. A kamikaze drone tracks down and destroys a Russian infantry fighting vehicle that was on a mission to deliver ammunition. The strike hits its mark with precision. The vehicle is eliminated, and enemy infantry is left without critically needed supplies, disrupting the entire logistics chain in this sector. Ukrainian aerial reconnaissance has uncovered the location of an enemy field ammunition depot. A striking detail in this footage is the reaction of the Russian troops. They clearly see the drone observing them, yet display astonishing carelessness and take no action. This fatal mistake gives the operator a free hand. Then it's time for the kamikaze drone. The pilot demonstrates surgical precision, guiding the aircraft straight into the building where the shells are stored. The explosion and the ensuing fire leave no chance for recovery. Extreme temperatures instantly detonate the stockpiled munitions, turning the depot into ashes. Novorossiysk, where Russia relocated the remnants of its Black Sea fleet in hopes of finding safety, is no longer a quiet harbor. The illusion of invulnerability collapsed after bold Ukrainian drone attacks reached the enemy even 600 kilometers from the front line. The port is now gripped by genuine paranoia. Partisans from the Atesh movement record how command frantically tries to conceal logistics under camouflage nets and reroute supply lines. But these measures are no longer effective. The decisive blow came from technology. In December 2025, a Ukrainian underwater drone achieved an unprecedented breakthrough, bypassing layered defenses and striking a Russian Kilo-class submarine directly at the pier. Earlier, an aerial attack had disabled a rare reconnaissance vessel patrolling the bay. These precision strikes prove that neither concrete breakwaters nor reinforced security can any longer protect the fleet from destruction. This footage vividly shows the physical aftermath of FPV drones colliding with tanks. What remains of the armored vehicles are scorched patches of ground and heaps of twisted metal. Precision drone strikes often trigger an instant detonation of the onboard ammunition. The force of the internal blast is so immense that the multi-ton turret is literally torn off the hull and hurled several meters away. Heavy armor proves useless against this threat. Expensive, cumbersome tanks simply cannot react in time to an attack by a cheap, fast-moving drone that targets vulnerable weak points. The outcome is always the same. A highly complex combat system worth millions of dollars is reduced to a motionless piece of scrap metal in a matter of seconds. The video captures a coordinated sequential attack on an armored vehicle transporting ammunition. To ensure the target's destruction, the operators employed a multiple strike tactic with at least 3 FPV drones involved in the assault. The initial hits were aimed at immobilizing the vehicle, damaging the engine compartment or running gear, and depriving the crew of any ability to maneuver or retreat. Once the vehicle was brought to a halt, a final decisive strike was delivered to finish it off. Next in line is a Russian armored personnel carrier, which appears to have been damaged earlier and is now being finished off. The attack is shown from the perspective of the kamikaze drone itself. The operator doesn't simply aim at the vehicle's outline, but deliberately selects a specific, critically vulnerable point to guarantee destruction. The strike is delivered with sniper-like precision. The drone slams in directly beneath the base of the gun barrel. This is one of the weakest areas of an APC. The armor is thinner there, and behind it are the targeting mechanisms and the fighting compartment. A hit at this junction disables the weapon system and, as a rule, leads to fatal consequences for both the crew and the vehicle. In the area of the settlement of Udachny, Donetsk region, fighters of Ukraine's 108th Territorial Defense Brigade discovered a Russian ground-based unmanned vehicle. The enemy was attempting to use this robotic platform to covertly deliver ammunition to the front line, avoiding the risk to soldiers and conventional transport. The robot never reached its destination. A Ukrainian operator intercepted the loaded platform and struck it with precision. Because the ground drone was carrying explosives, the FPV drone's hit triggered a massive secondary detonation. The enormous blast instantly destroyed both the expensive piece of equipment and the entire ammunition load it was transporting. Operators of the 5th Separate Kiev Assault Brigade have opened a hunting season on enemy robots. The opponent is increasingly trying to deploy ground-based unmanned platforms to replace personnel in high-risk areas, but Ukrainian pilots are successfully shutting down these attempts. The footage shows the destruction of a unique target, a combat ground system armed with a heavy machine gun intended to provide fire support for Russian infantry. But it wasn't only combat units that were taken out. Logistics robots were hit as well. The enemy used these transport platforms to covertly deliver ammunition and supplies, hoping to slip through unnoticed. Strikes by the 5th Brigade shattered that plan. Every burned-out platform is a double success. One less supply route and one less firing position, significantly weakening the enemy's ability to hold ground in this sector. This was not just an attack, but a complex chess game conducted from 400 kilometers away. The target was a Russian MiG-29 at an airfield in Crimea, which had been shooting down Ukrainian reconnaissance aircraft for weeks. To reach it, the Ukrainians launched a Bober drone, but the Russian special unit Rubicon intercepted its control signal. Confident of their victory, they located the control relay point and destroyed the building housing the operators with a massive strike of FPV drones and artillery, reporting the threat neutralized. However, their triumph was a mistake. The Russians had only destroyed a remote decoy relay deliberately placed as bait. The real operators were a kilometer away and managed to send a final course correction to the drone just seconds before losing connection. Bober autonomously adjusted by 3 degrees and struck the fighter precisely. The explosion of its 20-kilogram warhead, combined with spilled fuel, turned the aircraft into a mass of molten titanium, while Rubicon celebrated a false victory. In the area of the village of Konstantiopolska in Donetsk region, an enemy assault attempt ended before it even began. It wasn't a battle, it was a one-sided rout. The Russian assault team was wiped out so quickly that the occupiers didn't manage to fire a single shot at Ukrainian positions. The trap closed perfectly. First, their vehicles struck minefields and were immobilized, and then the UAV operators moved in. FPV drones working in coordination with heavy bombers systematically finished off the stranded vehicles. A single short sortie with drones resulted in the destruction of 3 armored vehicles in one go. In Zaporizhzhia region, a Ukrainian FPV drone intercepted a Russian MTLB. The strike proved fatal not only because of the pilot's skill, but also due to the dangerous cargo inside. The enemy was transporting a dense load of anti-tank mines in the troop compartment, effectively turning the vehicle into a tracked bomb. The drone's hit acted as a perfect detonator. An immediate chain reaction and the explosion of the entire ammunition load caused a massive blast that literally annihilated the armored vehicle. The enemy tried to use bad weather to their advantage, launching a mechanized assault under the cover of dense fog. Their plan relied on surprise and low visibility. One of the tanks even activated a smokescreen system to fully conceal the column and become invisible to Ukrainian defenses. But neither natural fog nor artificial smoke saved the occupiers' vehicles. FPV drone operators reacted lightning fast, detecting targets even in these challenging conditions. Precise strikes from the drones shattered the armored group and completely disrupted the enemy's advance, turning their cunning tactical maneuver into yet another defeat. An attempt by the Russians to move a mechanized column in the Petropavlivka direction of Kharkiv region turned into a complete disaster for them. Ukrainian aerial reconnaissance detected the movement in time, and FPV drones immediately began striking the vehicles. Precision air strikes threw the enemy into panic, forcing crews to search for escape routes chaotically, which led them to a fatal decision. Trying to evade the drones, the column turned onto a route that proved a natural trap, directly into the muddy, swampy banks of the river. The heavy armor quickly became stuck, losing any ability to maneuver. Immobilized, the vehicles became easy prey, and the combination of difficult terrain and drone operator strikes resulted in the total destruction of the entire enemy group. Ukrainian FPV drone operators have expanded the strike zone by taking the hunt deep into the enemy's near rear. The enemy can no longer feel safe even in areas where rotations or ammunition resupply once took place without fear. Pilots now act preemptively, intercepting vehicles on the move and at staging areas before they ever reach the line of contact. This style of hunting has turned into an efficient conveyor belt for eliminating enemy resources. Drones independently uncover movement routes and concealed positions, then deliver precise strikes. The systematic destruction of targets deep inside defensive lines bleeds frontline units dry, leaving occupying forces without armor and fire support at the most critical moments. Soldiers of the 141st Separate Brigade demonstrated exemplary vigilance while moving in their vehicle. They spotted a hidden threat in time, a hostile FPV drone of the Zdun type. This is a cunning tactic. The copter lands by the roadside and stays in sleep mode to conserve battery, then takes off to strike vehicles at close range at the most unexpected moment. To avoid risking the crew, the troops acted calmly and methodically. One soldier dismounted, quietly circled the ambush from behind the foliage, and took up an advantageous position. With a few shots from small arms, he destroyed the drone on the ground, neutralizing the trap and clearing the way for safe passage. Ukraine's Special Operations Forces are expanding the geography of their strikes, reaching the enemy even in the waters of the Caspian Sea. 3 Lukoil drilling platforms came under attack. The resources extracted there were directly used to produce fuel and supply vehicles of the Russian army. Striking oil and gas infrastructure deep in the rear is a powerful strategic move. Taking these platforms offline hits the enemy at one of its most vulnerable points, their resource base. By depriving the occupiers of fuel, Ukrainian special forces systematically undermine the enemy's ability to conduct active combat operations and sustain frontline logistics. Timely aerial reconnaissance left the enemy no chance for a surprise strike. Drone operators detected the movement of a mechanized column while it was still approaching, allowing the defenders to prepare for combat. As a result, Ukrainian forces met the occupiers with concentrated fire, immediately knocking out part of the armored vehicles and halting the offensive at its very start. Between the islands and Kherson region, Ukrainian aerial reconnaissance detected suspicious enemy activity as they attempted to use high-speed motorboats to covertly move troops. The Russians hoped to slip through undetected on the water, but this route was already fully monitored by Ukrainian pilots. Once the targets were confirmed, strike FPV drones were launched to intercept the enemy vessels. The drones successfully caught both boats and disabled them with precise hits. The surviving infantry, stranded in the water, panicked and tried to escape by swimming or hiding in the dense reeds along the shore. Ukrainian operators delivered a painful blow to the supply system of Russia's 51st Combined Arms Army using FP-2 kamikaze drones. Key rear area facilities were targeted, sites where the occupiers had been stockpiling resources to support their frontline units. The drones successfully penetrated defensive measures and struck a warehouse storing ammunition and logistical supplies. This video captures two intense enemy assault episodes where the outcome of the battle was decided by unmanned technologies. Ukrainian FPV drones became the decisive factor, completely shifting the balance of power and seizing the initiative from the attacking forces. The pilots struck with maximum precision and timing, creating a vital fire shield for their comrades in the trenches. Thanks to the operator's skill, the enemy advance collapsed before the assault units could even reach the trenches. Today, we've seen how drones are transforming modern warfare and battlefield tactics. They've proven that even small, compact devices can have a serious impact, carry out precise strikes, and gather valuable intelligence. Every flight and mission confirms that the future of war is increasingly shaped by high-tech solutions. Drones aren't just weapons. They're tools that change the course of events here and now. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to catch our new releases more often.